up all dongers and non-dongers, and welcome to another video here with the dongers of Runeterra. I'm going to continue the ranking here in the Bilgewater region. We're gonna go through the last spells here today, the 4 and 5 cost spells, and then the 6+ cost spells, and just see where we're at this point. And if you like these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment if you think the rankings are terribly wrong. We're starting with the 4 and 5 cost. You see it all here, and there is a lot of cards here that is being played in decks, but not necessarily are staple picks in decks always. So this one people might not agree with all the positions here. That's just what I'm gonna say. So at 5th place I have the Saps Sprayfin. It is a card that has been getting more play recently. It is good, has elusive, you get 1 mana back, so it basically is a 3 cost if you can get the attune thing in, and you also draw a spell from your deck that costs 3 or less. So if you consider it a 3 cost because you get a mana back and you draw a spell, it's actually the same as Shadow Assassin, just the Shadow Assassin pulls your next card. So in a deck that you rather want to have the spell, this one is actually better. And that you always draw a 3 or lower cost makes you can plan for what you're gonna get in a more way. So, and even if it's just slightly worse or slightly better than the Shadow Assassin before she got nerfed, that was an amazing card. So this card on its own, it's great. The problem is that you need 4 total to play it instead of 3 for the Shadow Assassin, so it still has some weaknesses there. And it is popping up in more decks now as well, as I said, so it's versatile. The biggest problem with it is that it is in Bilgewater. They don't tend to use a lot of elusive things, but it definitely has been getting some more playtime, and it certainly deserves it. It is a very good card. It just, for itself, to get more playtime, it's a little bit in the wrong region. And then I will go for the 4th spot, and that is Abyssal Eye to me. And I know the reasoning why it shouldn't be in here is that it's only played in deep, right? Because if you don't, in decks specifically with Nautilus Maokai, because otherwise you don't get, it doesn't get 7 and 7. But it is a super good card in deep. You always run 3 of this one because it also helps you get deep with the Nexus Strike to draw a card, and it really helps you set up. I've been playing a lot of deep lately, and just to do those 6 damage when you are deep makes it so much easier if you have done some damage before to finish your opponents with the Atrocity spell and stuff like that. And it costs 5, so you can get it on an awkward turn. The round 5 is quite awkward for deep. So this is a great card. It's a staple pick in the deep decks. I can't remember when I saw someone play less than 3. Maybe there is some people play 2 out there, but it's been there since Deep released, so it definitely deserves its spot. And even though the card in 3rd place has been seeing less play, like if you take since the release of Bilgewater, this one is staying at 4th because it's only in 1 deck. And then we will find ourselves to the 3rd place, which is the Razor Scale Hunter, who wasn't played as much before he got buffed, but since he's been buffed, he's been played way more. He has the Scabbed ability and the Vulnerable, and the Vulnerable is so useful with this guy because he really helps you to take a target that you really need to get from the opponent's line when they have something that really matters, like take a Neverglade Collector. That's someone you're never gonna get out in a fight. You need a spell to kill it or something like that. And for decks that run Scout, usually they don't have too many things to deal with things in the backline. So this guy has scout. You put the vulnerable on the guy you want to take out, and if it's a high health, like the Neverglade, I think that's a 2 and 5, right? You go out, hit it, and then you hit it again because his scout. And if there is something else, like just a big Sejuani that you don't want to hit with your worst character because you want to sweep something else in, he's also good. He's a lot of way to be used in that way, and he works super well with Misfortune because the scout goes twice, help her level up, stuff like that. He's been played a lot more nowadays, and he really deserves this 3rd spot in my opinion. And on the 2nd place we will find the Yordle Grifter. This card is super good. Like the two cards coming here is super good. You can argue that Yordle Grifter might be number 1, to be honest, because. And before it was Nab, maybe he was number 1. He creates another card, is a warning shot, which has a lot of synergy with other things in decks there that you use this guy in, because you all usually has some plunder things, like for either you play the Black Market Merchant, or you definitely play the Giant Butcher because that card is OP, and you can also play Riptide Rex in most of those decks. Just getting a warning shot to trigger Riptide Rex can win you games, so this guy really helps you with that. He also have the Allegiance thing that makes you draw a card from the opponent. So for 4, you get a unit that is 3/3. That's not too great in its own, but potential of 2 cards, like that is really good. Yes, the opponent knows one of your cards, but they also don't have a simple clue about what you pull from their deck, which could be something sometimes really bad and sometimes just awesome. The reason I just didn't put him on top is because you don't make the deck through his Allegiance, so there is a lot of the times you don't get the Allegiance, so it's a 3/3 for a warning shot, and that is good, but he definitely have the upside of making like switch a game completely on its tail. So, and he's been played a lot since he arrived, just because of that, his inherent synergy with the Black Market Merchant and stuff like that, and Pilfer Goods. So the 1st place for me is Island Navigator. She has been used so much since the Grizzle Ranger got nerfed. You see it down here. When that was a 4 and 1, created a 4 and 4. That was better for scouts in general, but the Island Navigator, like, it's a 2 and 4 for 4. It's fine with scout, but you get another 1-cost unit along with her that also has scout. It's so good to set up some masterful plays with Misfortune, with Quinn, with everything that triggers on more attacks. And the 4 health really makes her help hard to kill, so she actually gets to go twice. And getting her buffed, like she's played in the Misfortune Sejuani decks, getting her buffed to a 3 and 5 with Omen Hawk, that's such a pain for the opponent. And the upside, we talked about it, I think I talked about it with what's the card now again? The Petty Officer. He also brings a 1-cost unit. There is so many upside 1-cost units that gives you so great effect when they hit the table. So, and it's so consistent, right? So that is why she's getting the first one. I know she doesn't really win you games on her own. She just pushes you towards it. Like the Yordle Grifter, having that warning shot can really help you win the game when you pull the Riptide Rex. But the Island Navigator really put pressure on your opponent. And to be honest, if you get to go twice and have your Misfortune there, she has definitely helped you win the game. This is a really staple pick in scout decks. It's not only in Bilgewater. You actually pair yourself. Bilgewater and Demacia is the scouting decks, and she's in there. She stays even if you go to Freyord and do scouting things there, even if scout is not your primary thing. So she's a great complement to Misfortune, just as the Razor Scale Hunter, but she's just more stable, in my opinion. So that was the first one where we didn't have any spells on the top list. You could argue that Riptide or Salvage should have spots. I just think Salvage is not as good as the other cards, and Riptide is amazing when Nautilus is on the board, but if you don't have Nautilus on the board, it's not actually a very good card. Like 4 for a stun. Come on. So now we go into the 6 and 7, and this one was hard. Not to determine the first 3, because they were good cards, easy to put in. The order was also quite easy. It's just the two other cards, because there is a lot of trash in here, like cards that are barely used at all. So for the 5th place, I chose Double Up, and it's not a card being played a lot, barely anything at all, in my opinion, what I've seen, and it does have an okay upside. It's way too expensive for what it does, but 2 damage to an enemy, and if you kill it, 4 to the enemy nexus. That puts some pressure on your opponent, at least. I've been trying it in some decks before, just because, like, hitting 4 to the nexus is a good thing to just get in behind the backline. The problem is that when you're at that late stage of the game, there is not always a lot of enemy followers or champions that has only 2 health left that you can kick out and get the 4 damage. But compared to a lot of the other things here that is never getting played, this one at least gets a little bit played. And for the 4th place, it's the same Shipwreck Hoarder. Most deep deck don't run this one. They choose the other sea monsters over it, the Devourer of the Depths and Abyssal Eye. And some people choose to put in 1 Terror of the Tides, 1 Shipwreck Hoarder, because you get treasures into your deck and stuff like that. It's a great card, this one, in a vacuum, but there is a reason people choose other sea monsters over it for the most of the time. It's a little bit like you don't really need it to win with deep. It's more like a win more card with deep, and sometimes it absolutely saves you. But you can't play this one before Nautilus, and I think that's why people choose the Abyssal Eye and the Devourer of the Depths over this card. But it's a solid card for sure. It's been playing more than the Double Up, so it was a clear 4th, but it was not close to break into the top 3. And on the 3rd place, it's Citrus Courier. It's also a little bit of a win more card, because you rally, heal, and stuff like that when you already plunders. But it also sometimes really saves your ass, like, because the game is really close, so you not finishing them on your turn could be that you lose on their turn, if they like have certain things. So if you can get the plunder on their turn, heal 3, especially for your nexus, and sometimes for your units, and rally, you can finish them then, or save your round so you can finish them on your round. This card is great. It's been played a lot. It doesn't play. I've never seen it played like 3 copies, sometimes 1 or 2, mostly 1, because it's a little bit of niche, but it is in the decks, and it has been played a lot during its time. Like, people, when you play Misfortune or Scout decks, it actually really helps Misfortune when you rally like that. It can really turn the games upside down. He's also 4 and 5, which means he's harder to kill. So when he goes out, many times they have to sacrifice a unit just to block him at that stage, or sacrifice a big unit that they don't wanna. So he was good. He was a clear number 3. The number 2 is Devourer of the Depths, and the reason to that is because it's probably the best sea monster in the game. Play Obliterate an enemy with less health than me. He can be used to kick like Misfortunes and Maokais and stuff like off the board early before his deep, which is super good. And when he is deep, he's 7 and 7, so everything below 7 health, he just smashes out of it. It's not killed, it's Obliterate. So if you have something that triggers with killed, it's not gonna happen, it's obliterated. So Anivias gets obliterated, you can't revive that one. I know Anivia decks get through that on different ways, but by playing a new one and that one dies. But it's really a pain, the Devourer of the Depths. So that's why he hits the second place. The reason why he doesn't hit the first is because the problem with all these deep cards, they are only centered in one deck. Nobody's playing Devourer of the Depths if you don't play deep. But in deep, super important, the best sea monster. So I guess most people knew this from the start, but Riptide Rex, number 1. The crocodile, as I call it, but I've been learned that it is a shark, but then you shouldn't have the name Rex after it. That's just what it's. Anywho, Plunder casts Cannon Barrage 7 times on random target enemies. This guy wipes boards if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, like many people feel when he hits the table for their own sake, he usually misses the important target, but everyone has been there when the Riptide Rex just melted 3 or 4 units that you had, and you had a great board advantage, everything died, and some damage into the Nexus, and then you need to block a 7 and 4, which sometimes you can't because you played your stuff. Well, sometimes you have to sacrifice your best unit for him, and you're really in the poopers. So Riptide Rex, he wins games like no other of these cards I discussed earlier. Devourer of the Depths is close to it, but Riptide Rex is in all the Plunder decks, every deck that can do it. Twisted Fate as well, Misfortune with Sejuani, Misfortune with Gangplank sometimes, Twisted Fate with Swain, I think you find it in. So the Riptide Rex, if you have like you play Warning Shots, the Yodel Grifters, something like that, things that can trigger on easy on the Nexus, you just put the Riptide Rex in it, as long as you want to have the Bilgewater region. But he's awesome. He's a game winner. It was not close to put him down to second, but the Devourer of the Depths, if that was a card that was in all decks, and it was good in all decks as in deep, he would have beaten him. But right now it's not like that. So the winners was Island Navigator and Riptide Rex. The spells of Bilgewater from 4 cost and up, really underwhelming. Only one made a list, and that was like almost a sympathy one. So, and it was definitely in lack of other cards being bad. So thanks for this video. If you're still here, thank you very much, and see you next video where we will go through all the champions of Bilgewater. Dong is out.